Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we are discussing one of the most broken things I have ever made for a build. This build is on Solar Titan. Doesn't really matter which tree, though I would personally recommend Bottom Tree Hammers, because I think Bottom Tree Hammers is a good class and helps keep you alive, and the Strength of the Super helps keep this this build viable inside of endgame content. We are also using Path of the Burning Steps as well for its Firewalker buff. Between all the buffs here, it gives you quite literally a 93% damage bonus all the time. I am two-bulleting enemies with an SMG. I don't think I can really stress to anyone how strong this build really feels until you go play with it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive into this, because I don't want to delay for too long and keep you waiting. First up, we have our helmet, which for today is going to be on stasis. We have a copy of Elemental Time Dilation to increase the time for how long we will have Font of Might on our screen, and gives us a stacking 25% damage bonus. You could also slot in a Power Preservation in the middle slots here so that you can generate more orbs for your teammates. That is not necessary, but I do think this would help bring the build's viability up inside of endgame content, where you have teammates and you need a roaming super, which more and more recently roaming supers have started to come to the forefront because of not having well and block up as often, and we can't just cower corners anymore. Next up is the arms. These are focused on the solar affinity like the rest of the armor from here on out, so go ahead and get that armor put on solar if you're following me along here. These is simply just to put a copy of Bountiful Well on, so when you proc elemental armaments, it does give you 2 elemental wells to help keep our abilities up and also help give us Font of Might. If you need to run this build in endgame level content, you have plenty of space here to run whatever champion mods you may need. Though, I wouldn't recommend Unstopped Fusion this season because most of our Osmosis kinetic weapons kind of suck, outside of maybe Fatebringer, which you could run Osmosis and Frenzy on, which would be an overall pretty decent primary. Though I don't think it's the best choice for totally abusing this build, because I think a true solar primary is better because you need to switch a lot, and being able to switch to just always having that solar weapon there is good for endgame content. The goal of this build is to make your primary weapons insane. Just make it so that you can literally just hold out your primary weapon, and your primary weapon can do most things any weapon in the game can do. Some guns you can run that fit into the current champion meta would be the BXR or TQ's Divination, or if you need to be on Iron Barrier, you could also run Arctic Haze, which is a solar auto rifle from Europa, which with the total damage buff from Arctic Haze, using Vorpal, you would have an 80% damage buff against champions between all buffs in this build, and the 20% buff you get from Vorpal, which would totally melt barriers and their shields. Next up is our chest piece, which has the mod Elemental Armaments on it, and this will give you your Elemental Well mods when you get a Solar Final Weapon Blow because you're on a Solar subclass. This buff also does stack with the Firewalker buff from Path of the Burning Steps, for a total buff from the 2 buffs alone of 60%, which is higher than any standard weapon kill buff in the game. Onto our exotic now, Boots, Path of the Burning Steps. Path of the Burning Steps has the exotic perk Firewalker, which states solar final blows periodically grant you an escalating bonus to weapon damage. You are harder to slow or freeze with stasis. When you break out, you take no damage from doing so, creating a burst of solar energy around yourself. We only really care about the first part here. Solar final blows periodically grant you an escalating bonus to weapon damage. To be completely clear, what this really means is a solar double kill will give you Firewalker ×1. Each successful multi-kill after that will refresh the perk and give you the next stack. So 2 kills in a row gives you Firewalker ×1, 4 kills in a row gives you Firewalker ×2, 6 kills in a row gives you Firewalker ×3, so on and so forth. And in a lot of activities, there's enough ads that you can keep Firewalker ×4 on your screen for a really long time. And as long as you are getting kills with the buff on your screen, you're refreshing the buff, which will keep giving you kills, which will keep giving you that huge damage bonus of 35%. This 35% damage bonus doesn't stack with most other damage bonuses in the game, but it does stack with Font of Might and your weapon damage perks, such as Frenzy, Rampage, and Multi-Kill Clip, Adrenaline Junkie, Swashbuckler, your normal high-end damage perks that you run on most of your primaries. It does stack with those. Between this and Font of Might is how we begin to abuse our damage stacks to create really strong primaries. If you run a primary with a good damage perk, or run as many copies of Font of Might as possible, you could keep up to a 110% damage bonus at all times if you are running something like Multi-Kill Clip, which is the highest damage buff in the game for a weapon perk at 50%. You stack them all together and you get your 110%. I currently have them set to solar, though this doesn't really matter because Font of Might can go whichever you want, and you could totally move around perks here to fit the build however you wish. I just put my Font of Might here. If you wish to have it somewhere else, and you need different damage resistances on your chest piece and so on and so forth, you can totally move stuff around to make sure you put the Font of Might wherever it needs to go. Just the important part here is putting as many Font of Mights on your build as possible. That way you keep the 25% damage, extra damage that stacks on your screen for as long as possible. Lastly is the class item, which has Font of Might on it along with 2 copies of Bomber. So that way you can keep your grenade up to help keep you alive when really large groups of ads wants to push you. This also will help you clear out any ads when you're reloading, and will make sure you don't die and help keep your enemy sectioned off. The goal of this build really is to use your primary weapon, and then when needed, you can run your abilities to do what your abilities should do. Your grenade to help clear out large chunks of enemies, your melee to help kill stuff when stuff gets too close to you. Maybe you get flanked or something by an enemy and you didn't pay attention to your radar, and now you have an enemy in your face and you need to get rid of it. That's all I have for you today. I hope you all enjoyed running through enemies with this build. It is probably my new favorite Titan build and will be my new main Titan build for at least the beginning of Season 16 until I get a better idea of what 14.0 is. Thanks for watching and supporting the channel throughout January and at the start of February. Yesterday's video has done pretty good, all things considered. If you haven't already, please do consider liking the video and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, there will always be more of this style of content and style content like yesterday. I will see you all Friday for a brand new video, and goodbye.